toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
That sounds like a party, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Welcome, my friends. We're up to show number 318, just ahead of our debut in national radio syndication, which, if all goes well, will actually come next week. So next week's show will be the first one to be syndicated.
Nice.
And one thing that will change, by the way, is that currently the show becomes available. We usually record it earlier during the week, but the show becomes available on Thursdays at 1 p.m. It will now become available on Saturdays, probably about 3 p.m., because the debut of each week's show will be the syndication
Saturday
broadcast,
at 2.
which is Saturday at 2.
Yeah.
So probably around 3, the show will become available.
Saturday at 2 is a pretty nice slot.
It's not a bad slot. We're very excited about it, and we're very excited about this whole year ahead of us here at Smokin' and Toastin'.
I feel like on a Saturday by 2 o'clock, you should be done with the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
You should be sitting outside with a cigar.
That's right. It's perfect timing, and maybe even planning what your weekend festivities are going to be for Saturday night, and maybe we can give you a suggestion or two of what you might want to drink wherever you go, when you go. So thank you again for joining us and for being here through all these episodes of Smokin' and Toastin'. We will try to make you proud. Now, today we're on location in the Heights neighborhood of Houston at the Shady Acres Saloon. And tell me what you know about Shady Acres. We've done a show here once before. But we did it.
So from what I understand, this area was known as Shady Acres, and that's why they have the name Shady Acres. A friend of mine, Mike Bell, used to work at a bar years ago called Rudyard's. Rudyard's still exists, but he stopped working there. He opened a bar next door to Rudyard's called the Next Door Bar. And then from there, he opened up this bar, and this has been, where he's been for the last quite a few years. It's a great place. It's country music. They got a nice stage out here.
He's let us in here before. We did a pipe show.
Yeah,
here
we did.
once,
We did a pipe show about 2 years ago, I think, here. That was a lot of fun. We did it on the inside. But he's getting busier and busier. So last time we did the pipe show, we did it on the inside. He wasn't open until like 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now he's opening at 2 o'clock. Every day. So
and I know that John got some real good footage just going around the place, which we'll show you periodically during the
great
program,
ambiance here.
It's just very Texas, very sort of junkyard chic, if you will.
Yep.
And it's very relaxed. I really like it. Plus, he's got a really nice VIP
VIP
hut,
lounges,
is
yeah,
what I call it.
is really pretty nice.
Yeah,
the music they play here too is mostly country music. Sometimes you get a little more hippie jam kind of stuff, but it's all good.
I heard some ZZ Top earlier.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
Well, I'm talking about when they do the live bands.
Right. Right. Sure. Well,
but John Egan plays here. A bunch of those guys.
Love him. By the way, John Egan has confirmed that he will be on our anniversary show, the 333rd show, to play our theme music live.
I heard. You know what? You got a hold of him before I did. I talked to him yesterday. He's like, I already know. That's awesome.
Great. So that is John Egan. He's a local musician here in Houston. Fantastic blues rock guitar, and he was the guy that sang our opening song for us, which is just wonderful. So he'll be doing that live at our live show, which is going to be exciting. And maybe we can talk him into doing a little guitar for our bumper music too. That'd be kind of cool to do that for that show. So anyway, the reason we're here at Shady Acres today is our original schedule had called for us to have a guest that has both whiskey and cigars. So we reached out to Shady Acres to see if we could do the show here in order to be able to smoke during the show. As it turned out, our guest could not make it this week. We'll try to reschedule them later. But I thought, rather than head back into the studio, Ian, we'll just smoke our own cigars. So
we already had it lined up. Why wouldn't we?
What are you smoking, my friend?
So, today, I saved it for today. I was going to do this as a review on one of the shows. This is the Hoyo de Nicaragua Cinco Decadas?
Decadas.
Cinco Decades.
Yeah.
That's my loose translation.
Decadas, which is Spanish for decades.
Right. This is, I hadn't seen this before. You said you've tried this one before.
I have. A lot of the those cigars, because isn't that the one that Drew Estate bought?
I think so.
Because
Yes.
it's way to Nicaragua, right?
Yes.
So Drew Estate has relaunched some of those lines, formatted them a little bit in terms of the blends, and everything I've had of their new configurations is really, really good. My only complaint is they're all more expensive than they used to be. The whole
well,
way
this
to
is
Nicaragua.
this is
But
really nice. Like I said, I hadn't tried this one before. But like on the dry draw, the pre-light draw I got on this, it's got a very nice light draw to it, but I also got like a little bit of barnyard, a little anise going on, a little black licorice kind of flavor. I'm really enjoying it so far.
Yeah, excellent. I'm smoking a very interesting one. This is the Oliva. You may not have seen this before. It's the Oliva Monticello.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do a better job of showing that to the camera there. But the Oliva Monticello looks like a regular Oliva, except you're not used to Monticello. Turns out this is the house brand that they do for Holtz. And I order from Holtz online sometimes. They had a good deal on a box of these, and so I snagged one. And I have to tell you, because I thought, how wrong can you
It's
go with
Oliva,
Oliva, right?
yeah, right.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, they're wonderful. I'm enjoying these just as much as I'm enjoying a Series G or even
The Series V or the Melanio.
Series V, the Melanio, yeah. So I'm really liking it. This cigar is all about earth and leather and a little bit of a salty note, which I really kind of enjoy because instead of it being big pepper on the palate, it isn't really all that peppery, but you get this saltiness that gives you that tingle on the tongue that I really like about the pepper.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of replaces it with something a little different. So so far I'm digging it. I will admit this is not the first one of these I've had from my box, but I thought I would smoke this on the show today so I could
As a
talk
matter
about
of
the
fact,
richness.
we stopped and had a cigar last week, and you had one of those in your humidor and gave it to me. And I enjoyed it tremendously. It's got a nice amount of spice to it.
Yes,
I mean,
it does.
it's predictable Oliva in that it had the right amount of spice and complexity, but it's a little different from some of the other blends.
And let's just say right now, predictable Oliva, that's not a bad thing.
No, that's a good thing.
That's actually a very good thing. So yeah, I'm digging it. We'll talk cigars a little bit today. We'll also talk some beers. As a matter of fact,
I like beer.
Our beer tasting today. You may remember on last week's show we did a beer from one of my favorite Louisiana breweries, which is Nola.
Nola, yeah.
Today we're doing a beer from, I would almost have to say Nola's my number 2 favorite Louisiana brewery.
From Parish?
My number 1 is Parish.
Oh,
yeah.
nice, yeah.
That Ghost in the Machine is possibly, I mean, it will fight for my number one
it's pretty
favorite IPA
outrageous.
spot with a couple of others anytime.
It's pretty
But
outrageous.
today we'll be tasting from Parish Brewing Company something called Strawberry Mochi, and it is a Berliner Weiss, but with strawberry.
Right, so a little bit of sour to it.
Yeah, so we'll look forward to trying that. From Anchorage Brewing Company in, of course, Anchorage, Alaska. We'll be. It's funny. I put on my notes here. I put Anchorage, AL. That would be Anchorage, Alabama. No, they're from a place a little bit colder than that. Anchorage Brewing Company in Anchorage, Alaska. It's their Road Trip IPA, and then from a brewery that I know you're familiar with, Ian, in Austin, Texas, from Jester King.
I love Jester
We'll
King.
be trying something called, and I don't know if you've.
It's almost always outrageous.
I don't know if you've had this before, so I'm excited if you haven't. Have you had their black metal Imperial Stout?
It's been a couple years since I've had
Okay,
it. Yes,
all right.
and the cover art on the Jester
can
King
is
stuff
wonderful. Yeah,
is amazing.
In fact, you might even put that up at them.
Yeah.
So people can see that. We'll be getting to that in a little while. And then you brought along a very special bottle of Buffalo Trace.
I did. This was a gift, actually. I got it for Christmas, and I haven't opened it yet because I hadn't had the occasion. But this is a single barrel select from Specs.
From Specs, cool.
And so it'll be nice to try it. So it'll be like Buffalo Trace, but a little bit different.
For those of you out of state, Specs is what we call Disneyland for big kids. It's like the coolest, most like deep stock beer, wine, spirits. They're really wine specialists, but their
the
beer,
wine selection's crazy.
Their beer and spirit selection's amazing as well. And they have a nice humidor. I
was gonna say they got a respectable humidor.
Yep,
Their
very much so.
deli is unbelievable.
Dude, they have one sandwich that has blue cheese on it that is out of this world.
Man, if you go up to Specs Friday or Saturday, in the evening or even during the day on Saturday, you go up to Specs, just the sheer amount of samples you will
it's
have
great.
going
It's
through
great.
there.
And you know they do this thing too. They do a wine and cheese day at some point. I don't remember what part of the year it is, but if you happen to
Right.
go in on that Saturday, oh my God, don't bother having lunch
Right.
before you go. because it's absolutely fun. So I know there's stores like that in a lot of places. For us here in Houston, Texas, Specs is kind of the place, and plus they're locally owned, which we support that kind of thing. As well. So let me just say, a lot to talk about in today's show. We'll be telling you about some cigars to watch for. We'll be telling you. I think we've been teasing this for a while, but we should get to the 13 strong cigars for the full-bodied smoker.
Strong cigars.
Yeah, and that's a cigar aficionado list. And then the Hot 100. They're beers from 2022 that got put into a Hot 100 list. And I have not perused the list, but I've glanced at it. And I'm going to tell you that the vast majority of these beers, not only have I never sampled, but I've never even heard of.
So some of those lists get like that.
I'm really interested in this list because it's going to give me a lot of new things to target to see if I can find and we can get on. Plus, it'll be interesting to see what beers from this list we have had. So I think everybody will enjoy this list. Have you ever had any of these beers?
Right.
Email us and let us know if they're any good. By the way, our email address is st@rfcmedia.com. You can email us with questions about beer, questions about cigars, questions about life in general, dating advice. We got it all.
It's nice. st@rfcmedia.com. Media.com.
Yeah.
The first part of that rhyme.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
I like it. So in addition to that, by the way, I don't know if you heard about this, Ian, but Heineken is being heavily boycotted right now. And apparently, when the
is it the green bottles?
No, that's why you've boycotted them for years.
Yeah.
No, they're being boycotted because at the beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Heineken promised to stop doing business in Russia, stop exporting their beer to Russia. And not only did they not follow through with that, but apparently they've launched like 16 new products in Russia.
Oh, man.
During this last year that the war has gone on. So a whole lot of people who are obviously standing in solidarity with Ukraine are boycotting Heineken. Oddly enough, none of them are doing it for the green bottle, and none of them are doing it for the skunky general quality of the beer. So there's all kinds of reasons to boycott Heineken. I'm just throwing a few extra ones out there.
Right, there's some new reasons for it.
Yeah, just so you know. If we have time, we'll talk about drinking trends for 2023 and maybe even craft beer predictions for 2023. But speaking of drinking, Ian went in just before the show started and got me a beer from the taps inside. And this is a Paradigm IPA.
Yeah.
And I
hadn't tried it before.
I found it really interesting because it's definitely an IPA. It's got that hop profile. It's more hoppy than it is malty. But it almost tastes to me and almost feels with the mouthfeel like it's a combination of an IPA and a cream ale. It has that sort of cream ale mouthfeel to it. And I found it very interesting. I actually really like it a lot. And what did you go with?
I went with classic Shiner Bock.
Oh, see, that's the old standby.
I'd say if you're down here in Texas, you'll find it everywhere. But I'm pretty sure most markets you can find Shiner Bock.
I used to buy Shiner Bock in Boston.
Yeah. So I think you can buy Shiner Bock. So if you're wanting to try Shiner Bock, it's a good time.
Shiner Bock is a
classic.
It's one of those that always works. You know what I mean? It's also great with a cigar too. This IPA is fighting the cigar a little bit, but Shiner Bock does.
Shiner never fights a cigar. Yeah.
And you know another beer that I've always found was consistently always good with a cigar, and this is before they changed the formula. I haven't tried the new one, but Fat Tire.
Fat Tire is always good.
Fat Tire
yeah.
always
so
worked
good.
with a cigar. In fact, when you smoke a cigar and drink a Fat Tire, you almost can pull out an additional sort of a chocolate quality in the Fat Tire.
There were certain bars when I was doing a whole lot of gigs all over regionally here. There were certain bars I would go into, and I know that they would go through a lot of Fat Tire, and those are bars where I would always order the Fat Tire because it was so fresh.
Right, because you knew there was
so fresh and fantastic, and it's hard to beat that.
Yeah, absolutely is. Absolutely is. They got a number of beers on tap here. I was just looking at the tap heads.
Yeah, actually, they have seven. They have different taps. They have a couple redundancies outside and inside, but most of them are different outside to inside.
I like that. I like when they really mix it up.
But just looking from here, they got some Buffalo Bayou. They got the Shiner Bock. Obviously, they got that Paradigm out here. They got let's see what else, Lone Star and a few others.
Yeah. I can see. Is that a Eureka Heights on the end? I'm not sure. But yeah, that's they got a nice selection, and I'm just. At this point, if you're running a bar or even a restaurant with, a pretty cool and exciting menu, if you don't have a diverse beer selection, We need an IPA, and not just one that's owned by
Yeah.
Anheuser-Busch. We need a porter or a stout. We need something interesting like a strong ale or a Scotch ale. Give us something to mix it up, and then obviously you can have your regular macro brews, because I know people like those and drink them. But it just makes me think, if you're running a bar, you've got to diversify your beer selection. You just have to. It's expected at this point, and people are disappointed.
Yeah, you can't just go the easy AB InBev route. Does everything.
Right. AB will try to tell you they've got all the bases covered, but your customers want more. That's all I'm trying to say. Your customers want more.
Definitely.
How's the cigar smoking?
This is fantastic. This has got some earthy, that kind of mineral, kind of Nicaraguan soil kind of thing that you get.
That sort of soil richness with the minerality.
Yeah, and it still has a little of that the black licorice kind of in the background. It's got a little bit of pepper spice to it. But I would say there's some white pepper in the background that's just kind of fills the palate and makes it last a little longer. It's nice.
I am now getting a kind of almost like a baking spice, a bread, not a baking spice like gingerbread, but more like the flour on top of a loaf of bread.
Oh,
that sort of a vibe a little bit from this, mixing in with the saltiness and of course the deep earth and the rich leather. This is a wonderful cigar, and take a look at that burn line. That's just, and we're here under a couple of fans, and there's a little breeze blowing. That would be real easy to be a cigar that's canoeing right now, and it's not. It's just almost as straight as it can be. Oliva, quality stuff, man. You can't
aside from the airplane going over the top. We're out here. What is it? 80 degrees out here today. I'm wearing shorts.
Yeah, but we're under a couple of fans. It's very, it's very manageable.
It's going to be a good spring, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. In fact, our forecast said that this week was going to be a lot like last week. I'm like, well, last week was awesome.
Yeah, last week was awesome.
So that is totally working for me. All right, well, a lot to talk about on today's show, and we're going to be, of course, tasting some beers. And, I almost forgot. We have drinking news on today's show.
Oh.
I have to give you today's drinking news teaser headline as Ian reaches for the ukulele, because we do this organic here, folks, I'm telling you. Today's drinking news teaser headline: you can't smoke in California, but apparently you can steal.
Cheers, y'all.
All right, so we'll be getting to that in just a few moments. Thank you for joining us for Smoking and Toasting. It's episode number 318. A lot to talk about on the show today, and we will be right back after this.
Awesome.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting on location at Shady Acres Saloon for show number 318. What do you think, Ian?
Man, I love this place. Does it have ambiance or what?
Yeah, and just a moment ago, we actually had an old friend who used to work with East Side.
Austin Eastsiders, yes.
Eastsiders, Blair Horler, who now works with 4-6s, which they have got a really nice collection of beers growing from their brewery. And I don't know, we're going to have him on the show soon. I don't know what the connection is between them and the 4-6s Ranch, but 4-6s is actually one of the upcoming Yellowstone spinoffs that Taylor Sheridan, who does Yellowstone, is going to be releasing, I believe, later this year. So going to be a lot of talk and a lot of buzz about 4-6s. He happened to be here today. During the break, brought us over one of his hazy IPAs.
Awesome, yeah.
So I'm excited to
talk
try
about
it.
that. We got a little bit of foam on there we're going to have to watch
it's
for.
It's a hazy session IPA, and it did it definitely withstood a.
So we had a 4-6s on here once before. We tried the
their
amber, the Grit and Glory amber. Oh, it says Grit and Glory on all of them, I guess. So the easy drinking IPA with notes of citrus and pineapple. And not a lot of information on here. 4.8%. So I see that being sessionable. It says heritage runs deep along the top of this.
You know what I really like about this? Because I'm doing a little research while you're reading.
What you got?
What I like about this is for a sessionable IPA, something that comes in under 5%, it's got a lot of flavor. The flavor is really big and upfront on the palate. And because some of the more sessionable ones kind of feel like an IPA light. And not that that's bad. That can be fine sometimes, but this is not sacrificing flavor to be a little more sessionable.
No, it's punchy right up front with a malt like roundness.
Yep.
And then finish. This is kind of classic IPA. This
It
is
really
like
is.
when I very first tried IPAs. This is kind of where I think IPAs were.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got that great floral aroma that's not
Reminds me a little bit of a Harpoon IPA.
a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
But it's not so hop floral that you can smell it across the room. It's just got a
Right.
nice little aroma, a little hazy blonde thing going on here.
I like it.
It's good.
Yeah, and it's also really cold, which I
It
appreciate.
is really
I
cold.
know you like yours a little warmer, but I love my beers, even my
I
IPAs.
I like
ice
cold beer too, but I found if you got a good beer, it'll stand up even when it's a little
Agreed.
warm.
And sometimes it does change the flavors when you let it warm up a little bit. Might show you some things you weren't getting at first.
Now
flavor-wise.
I peeled my band off of my
I noticed
cigar.
it left a little nick on the.
got quite the peel on there. I don't know if that's even visible from there, but that's it doesn't seem to be leaking, so we're going to see how it stays.
Well, this one's navigating well so far. I did tip the ash, but still burning nice and straight. Nice big mouthfuls of smoke.
I've been
And,
tipping my ash a lot today, and the reason I've been doing that is because I'm wearing this light-colored shirt.
Yes, yeah, I understand.
So I'm going to sacrifice the long ash for the keeping the shirt.
I've ruined a hoodie or two by by ashes that fell that were still a little.
Have you noticed
still a
what
little
kind of
into it.
awesome creak my
Your chair has? Yeah,
rocking chair has?
yeah. It's a pretty cool sound.
This is
I'm really concerned though that rocking chair was really more for decoration, Ian.
Thinking-
I'm not sure if it's.
I don't know if you can see this. On
Yeah,
camera.
I'm not sure if it's going to support.
I don't
you
know if
the
this
whole
is. I don't
show
know
or
if this
not.
is a feature or a problem.
It's a feature. It's like the Batmobile. It unfolds, kind of at different shapes and times. So, anyway, well, some cigars to watch for. Let me tell you about these. If you are looking for a green cigar to pair with your green beer for St. Patrick's Day, Alec Bradley Cigar has started the celebration already. The company has already released the Black Market Filthy Hooligan and the Filthy Hooligan Shamrock. And these are a pair of seasonal smokes. Both are barber pole style wrappers.
Yeah, the
and
Philly
both
Hooligan's a
using,
good cigar.
the leaf of a bright green candela for one of the stripes in the barber pole. Both of these come in 6x50 Toros. Both are made with an Ecuadorian Sumatra binder. So if the candela is a little mild, that Ecuadorian Sumatra will give the cigar a little more of a kick when being used
a little more oomph.
as
Yeah,
the binder.
yeah, man. Candelas are they're a unique flavor compared to what like most people smoke today, but they were worth picking up one just to try.
Bradley Rubin, who's a second-generation cigar maker with Alec Bradley, says we only use choice candela. Barber Pole and Shamrock remain limited editions because the light green tobacco we use needs to be consistent every year. And Shamrock was actually his first project at Alec Bradley.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, it's kind of cool.
The packaging on those is awesome, too.
Production's limited. It's 2,000 boxes of 24 cigars for the Barber Pole Toro and 1,500 boxes of 10 for the Shamrock. But this is the 11th release of the Filthy
The
Hooligan.
11th release
yeah,
of
so
it.
it's been around for a while.
I've had about 3 or 4 of them, I think, so far.
Yeah.
Not this year, but just in total.
But
I'll probably pick
you're
up
a
a couple.
believer, though.
Yeah, they're
it's,
good.
It's like
They're
a St. Patrick's Day tradition for you now.
Yeah, well, so it is fun to have it like, hey, I've got a green cigar.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, people ask, do you guys have any holiday traditions? Yeah, we smoke a green cigar on St. Patrick's Day.
I'm not a must-wear green guy. I mean,
Yeah.
I have an Irish last name and Irish heritage, so I feel like that's enough.
I do know one other kind of cigar that you like, though, and that's that you love the really fat, large ring gauge cigar.
I do like a large
You're a
ring gauge
fan of
cigar.
that. Well, Nicaraguan cigar maker Aganorsa Leaf
Mm-hmm.
is adding 2 more hefty sizes to its JFR Lunatic Maduro line, so this will interest you. The new smokes have been available for pre-order for the TPE trade show in Las Vegas. They're named after their dimensions, 6.5 by 60 and 7 by 70.
7 by 70 is a big
huge.
cigar.
Yeah, all the tobaccos are used. All the tobaccos that are used in the cigars are grown on the farms in Nicaragua that are owned by Aganorsa, except for a Mexican San Andres wrapper. And you're noticing, Ian, that Mexican San Andres, that's getting more
That's been
and more
popping up, more
popular.
popular, yeah.
Yep, absolutely, and not surprising because
Well, it's got
very
spice and
flavorful.
it's got sweet and it's got just so many good things going on.
They'll be in boxes of 28, and just in case you did not know, JFR stands for Just for Retailers. So this is not a cigar that you can buy online.
Now JFR makes a Lunatic that's an 8x80, by the way.
Oh yeah, they're crazy.
And I have smoked that cigar. I have gotten in the river and done a 3.5-hour float and still been smoking my cigar by the time I got to the campsite.
You just got to make sure the cigar never hits the water.
Yeah,
the water never hits the cigar, and you're okay.
It's nice because you bring one cigar.
Yep. And Davidoff of Geneva, USA, is planning a quartet of seasonal cigars for its brand Avo. Davidoff owns Avo now, and they are releasing Avo Seasons Limited Edition Series 2023. 4 different smokes, all released in the same size. A double-tapered diadema that measures 6 5/8 by 50 for the ring gauge. All the sizes are the same, but each season is made with a very different blend and packaging that's intended to evoke the 4 seasons of the year, basically.
That sounds pretty exciting.
So first one to be released is spring. It comes out on the 23rd of this month. It includes an Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper, Dominican San Vicente Seco binder, and
it's easy for you to say.
Dominican fillers. So it looks like a very interesting blend.
Man, if you haven't tried many Avo cigars and you're wondering, go buy an Avo number 2.
Oh yeah.
Like, just start there. They're fantastic.
And the Synchro line is very good.
Synchro line's quite good, yes.
Very good. The upcoming Avo seasons will be released throughout the year. Summer will be an Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper, Mexican binder, and Dominican filler. Autumn will be Mexican San Andres wrapper. There it is again, with Dominican binder and filler. And for the winter, an Ecuador Connecticut wrapper with Dominican binder and filler. So nice to see some new things coming out of Avo. It's been a while since they've released anything new. I kind of dig it.
I like the Avo stuff, man.
Dig it.
The Synchros come in that cool square tubo too. That's kind of like, if you're just in for the packaging, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's nothing in the cigar world like that particular square tubo. I don't know if anybody else has a square tubo or not. Back to the 4.6's IPA, which it's warm enough out here now that it has warmed up a little bit, and it does open up the flavor system a little bit. I'm getting more of the citrus now, more of the little bit of maybe pineapple, maybe grapefruit.
The pineapple kind of has that definite kind of flavor to it. Doesn't have a lot of bitter to it.
Right. You're going back into the glass with it.
We're going back in for more research. But I like it in a glass. Cans are fine, but I really like when I get a can. A lot of times I'll pour it into a glass because you know what? Then you can smell it, you can see it. You get more senses involved.
I agree with you. I like my beer in a cold glass. That's how I usually do it. I usually have about 10 glasses in the freezer at all times.
It's a little less trashy looking than putting a speed hole in my can too. Which, hey, I'm not above doing that.
I was going to say that would be good optics for the show. You might want to think about that. But no, I have to say this is really nice as it opens up, and to be as hoppy as it is, it's really not fighting with the cigar too bad. It's like because I talk about this all the time that I'm a huge fan of IPAs and a huge fan of cigars, but very often they don't combine well. A porter will do better. An amber ale will do better.
I think a lot of IPAs have, since they have that bitterness on the end that you get, that bitter, some people call it crisp, but it's kind of a bitter snap.
The hop bitter.
Yeah, I think since it has so much of that on the end of a lot of IPAs, that's the thing that I think hurts the cigar reference with it.
I think you're right.
Whereas this doesn't have a lot of that. This kind of finishes smooth and sweet and a little aromatic, but the my cigar's going well with it.
Well, yeah, I'm enjoying this. This is pairing up really nicely. And
we're getting close to my my tear and
yeah,
my.
it's going to be interesting to see
we're
whether
see what
it runs
happens
right around it with no trouble, or whether it totally works.
Other than that, the burn's been fine, and I haven't had to tend it. So we'll see.
We mentioned, by the way, we were talking about Alec Bradley. Mentioned in last week's show that Alec Bradley has been sold to Scandinavian Tobacco. So it will be really interesting to see exactly what happens with them. I'm certainly hoping there's no, big changes coming to the line. I'm an Alec Bradley fan, and there's a number of their cigars I think are just fantastic.
Absolutely.
I would hate to see any of it become less than a thing. So there's an interesting thing happening with Molson Coors, and I don't remember whether we had a chance to talk about this last week, Ian, or not, but Molson Coors released what they intended to be a funny ad that regulators are saying went too far. And I'm pulling up the story here.
Did it have anything to do with their beer?
It actually did.
Really?
Because it compared their rivals light beer to water. Which, by the way, is a comparison we've made many times on this show, and the regulators have not stepped in. But anytime you talk about Michelob Ultra, it's not beer; it's beer-flavored water. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. And if you like that, by all means, drink it. I'm not telling you not to drink it, but folks,
apparently you can't do that on television.
Yeah. So the National Advertising Division, which is part of the Better Business Bureau, sided with Anheuser-Busch, which challenged an ad from 2022 for Miller Lite that used the phrase, "Light beer shouldn't taste like water. It should taste like beer." And I will admit, by the way,
that
Miller
phrase
Lite
actually makes sense.
And Miller Lite does have more flavor than a lot of other light beers. We established this on our light beer blind taste test.
We need to revisit that. Maybe we need to do like a small, what do you call it, montage of that show, some of the funnier moments.
Well,
but beers that actually scored well on there that I remember across the board, Miller Lite scored better than Bud Light on every one of them.
On every occasion. That's right. And this was blind taste test. So
I don't think Michelob Light made it on anybody's list. Mm-mm. And the funny thing is, I think I had Bud Light Lime as one of my favorites on there because it had at least flavor, and nobody thought it was lime. We all thought it was Lemon Pledge.
Yeah. Oh, it had flavor, all right. It was a disgusting flavor, but it did have flavor. You were right about that. Now, I'll tell you what. I was talking today, actually, with Maria Todd.
I love her. She's so fun.
Great radio broadcaster. She's not a beer aficionado. She drinks primarily,
she likes the macro brew light stuff.
But we brought her on, along with our good friend Steve Robinson, for the light beer blind taste test the last time we did it. I was talking with Maria today, and I got an idea that it's about time for another light beer blind taste test. So let's have Maria back on because she's funny. It'll make for a hilarious show. When we have Maria back on, and Steve too, what I want to do is I want to also include some of these non-alcoholic beers and not point out until after we do the tasting which ones have alcohol and which ones don't.
Now, I said it on the show. We saw the Guinness Zero.
Right.
And me and my wife were at Specs that day. We saw the Guinness Zero, and we picked up a 4-pack of it because it comes in a tall boys, just like the Guinness Draft.
Yep.
And we bought a 4-pack of the Guinness Draft next to it. And trying them side by side, I mean, it's really hard to tell.
That's interesting.
So,
my
question is,
if we sneak some of these into the light beer blind taste test because there are no alcohol beers, will we all wind up liking them better because they have more flavor, even though they don't have any alcohol? It'll be it'll be an interesting thing to see. So if we do them in segments like we normally do, have one non-alcoholic beer in each segment.
Now, my wife went to a place this weekend for a girls' brunch, and they went to a place where they had the non-alcoholic mixed drinks.
Really interesting.
They're like made with a non-alcoholic spirit, not just a virgin drink. Yeah. But like made with a non-alcoholic spirit, and she got a chocolate martini, espresso martini made.
Yeah.
And she said it was pretty dang good.
That's great. I did a little going out this weekend as well. A friend of my wife's invited us out for all-you-can-eat crawfish.
Oh.
And it was at New Magnolia Brewery.
Oh,
and
nice.
So I got to sample some. Man, they had some good. I was going to do a segment. I really was.
And New Magnolia, by the way, is walking distance from here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's very close. So I was there. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to do a segment, and we can put it on the show. But I didn't do it because I was literally covered in crawfish jam or whatever you want to call it.
Okay. So we went to a place last year. If you guys, everybody up north is going, what are they talking about? Okay, so if you go out for crawfish, I have one of the best hacks ever. We went to a place over off Washington, got crawfish last year. And when they came out and put the crawfish down on the table, they put with the what do you call it? The vinyl gloves.
Yeah.
So everyone got vinyl gloves. So you sit there and you peel and eat your crawfish with these vinyl gloves on.
And that way you're not getting it all
and
over
then
your
you
hands.
peel your gloves off.
Nice. I like it.
So from then on, anytime we go have crawfish, we bring gloves with us
Right.
And skip all of that, because immediately after you're done eating crawfish, your eye itches.
Oh yes, absolutely. and when I
Or
go
your
out,
nose,
when I go
yeah.
out for crawfish, and by the way, for those of you who are from other parts of the country, crawfish here is a lot like when it's crab season in the
In Maine,
D.C. to
yeah.
Baltimore area, or lobster up in the Northeast, or up in the Northeast in New England. You basically, it has all this seasoning on it, and you're cracking it open and eating it. And my standard thing is when we go out for crawfish, when I get home, I burn my clothes and then take a shower. That's just because there's no other way to get out of it. But it's worth it because it's that good. All right, we got to take a break. We're going to come back in just a moment. We have more to do. We wound up sampling an extra beer, so we still have 3 beers to go, plus some of this special
Challenge accepted,
Buffalo
my friend.
Trace. I wonder, can you handle it? All right, we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting, episode number 318. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, episode number 318. And my friends, we are just on the cusp of tasting more beer. We're also on the cusp of syndication. And I have no idea, Ian, whether we're going to be on like one radio station or like 100. I have no idea what to expect. But we've been basically signed by a syndication company out of Dallas, Texas, that sends radio programming to talk stations primarily, also a few music stations all over the country. And they have basically a 24-hour a day, 7 days a week lineup. And they wanted Smoking and Toasting, believe it or not, for their lineup. So we're going to be on.
Not only that,
yeah,
but our time slot is awesome.
Yeah, it's a Saturday afternoon if you're in any market that has it. And of course, by the way, from 2 to 4 on Saturday afternoon. Of course, by the way, as soon as we learn what stations we are on, we'll be publicizing that, obviously, so you guys can
come up with a
find
list.
us whenever you're in one of those cities that has a Smoking and Toasting station on it. All right, Ian has poured our next beer. I love Parish Brewing Company. I would almost go so far as to say that I feel like they can do no wrong. And this is a strawberry mochi, which isn't it more of a Berliner Weiss style with strawberry, Ian? Is that what it says?
So the Berliner Weiss style ale with strawberry, vanilla, milk, sugar, and toasted rice. Now let me tell you what's going on here. You know when you get a Pop-Tart and it has that icing on top?
Yes.
This is like if you just had that icing on top.
Just the icing, no Pop-Tart.
Yeah, it's actually really good.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a little too sweet.
It's a little too sweet and creamy, but
it's
in
great.
a wonderful way. Well, you know what it reminds me of? Not exactly, but the memory it recalls to me is when St. Arnold took their Boiler Room Berliner Weiss and added raspberry and made it into the raspberry ale.
The raspberry ale is
Yeah.
great.
This is creamier than that is, but this is almost milkshakey.
Yeah, so it's interesting because it's so much of that strawberry cream right up front. And then it finishes up with just a kiss of tartness.
Right, but the
It's
strawberry
like-
almost like wipes out the tartness. It's like
it just like comes through and sweeps up with a little tartness,
kiss of
and
it, yeah.
bam, there you go, you're done. It's
wow,
really, really
it's
interesting.
really delicious. I gotta feel like this is
I love the little guy on here. I'm sure you'll
Little
see
strawberry
that.
guy, yeah.
Little happy strawberry guy on a.
looks like he's swimming in milk. Mm-hmm. That's good. Strawberries and milk are good. I wonder what it would be like actually to have a strawberry floating in this. Might not be a terrible
It might
thing.
not be bad. I'm not usually a fruit and beer kind of guy. I see people putting limes in beer and all.
I agree. Usually no produce is necessary for my beers, but every now and then you got to change things up.
Some people are kind of crazy about that. They'll put lime and whatever. I was at a bar one evening, and we're standing at the end of the bar talking to the bartender, and this lady comes up and she's kind of snapping at the bartender. She's one of those people like,
like, hey, serve me.
So he turns and looks at her and he's like, "Can I help you?" And she's like, "I want 2 Miller Lites." He's like, "We don't have Miller Lite." "You have Dos Equis?" "No, I don't have Dos Equis." "You have names off a few other Mexican beers too." "No, I don't have." She goes, "Well, what do you have?" He goes, "I got Lone Star." She's like, "I'll take 2 of those." So he goes and gets those, and he comes back and he puts them on the bar and he turns around to talk to us. And she's standing there next to him and she's tapping the top of her bottle like this and looking at him. And I can't figure out what's going on there. And he sees me look over questioningly, and he looks over and he goes, "Can I help you?" She goes, "Can I get salt and lime with this?" In a Lone Star?
Yeah, I'd never heard of that before. I
I
never
was a
heard
little
of that
dumbfounded.
before.
He walks over and he salted and limed her.
Well, I'm going to tell you, this beer is almost a dessert beer. It's got that much sort of like sweetness and dessertiness to it. But it's also very drinkable. A lot of times when you get these kind of beers, in my mind, they may have a really good taste, but you're like, I only want a little bit more of this.
We're going to see how drinkable it is because I'm
all right. Challenge accepted.
I'm going to drink some more of it, to be
All
honest
right.
with you.
While you do that, we're going to take a break. We still have more beers to go. We have a little bit of whiskey to go, too. In fact, maybe we'll get to that in our next
whiskey's
segment.
so good.
We'll talk about a little bit of this Buffalo Trace. That,
All right. I've been waiting. Like, I got this for Christmas.
I'm
I've
so
been waiting
excited that you held on to it to do it on
for
the show.
months. And I haven't, I'm not, I haven't observed all safety things, so there's no
right.
clearing of the bottle or
Well,
anything.
we'll get the OSHA people in here to make sure that you're going to be okay when you open this up. And we'll be right back. We're smoking and toasting. Our program's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. On location today at Shady Acres Saloon in Houston Heights. We'll be right
Love
back.
that stuff.
Make your plans, all expectations and demands, just to see them tumbling in the starlight. Such a lost sea here lately.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, our program all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled
I
cigars.
love those
Ian, I will
things.
tell you that usually I do, I think, a decent enough job of preparing some things for us to talk about here on the show. Usually I,
you
will go
do.
in and do my research and
Yeah.
try to find some things, and not just the research that you like to do, which is drinking the beers.
Well, yeah.
But,
So my job on this show, you do a great job preparing the show, but the way I prepare for the show is I make sure that I don't read the show notes
Right?
and I don't know what's going on at all, so that
Mm-hmm.
all of my reactions are completely genuine. This is
Well,
and it's difficult to do that kind of preparation.
Well, I can tell you that I've talked to you about this, that we were going to do this on the show, about this Hot 100 list of beers. And I also mentioned I'd scanned through it and I didn't recognize much of anything. So in my usual way of total preparedness, what I did not do is read the actual headline at the top. It's the hottest 100 Aussie beers of 2022. So now I know why I didn't know most of these beers,
There's
because
that.
most of these are not even available
They're not
anywhere in the United
available
States.
here.
So I will go through.
Good.
I'll give you the top 10.
Can
just in case
before
you're
you
ever
start
in
that, can I
Australia.
talk about how my cigar is starting to look like
Yeah, that's not looking good.
look like a cartoon explosion? It's
Mm-hmm.
actually unraveling at the head of the cigar. It's burning through this section where it.
Now this
peeled
happened
the
right
paper.
when you got to the part that peeled off when you took off the band, right?
Yeah, and now the whole thing's starting to leak. Now, if you've ever tried to drink out of a straw that had a hole in it or a split in it somewhere, and you only get like the littlest bit of what's coming through, and you get all the air. That's kind of what's happening to this cigar right now. So we're going to ditch this.
All right. Yep. You got another one to
We're
go with?
rolling straight into cigar number 2, which I am positive I'm not going to have any issues with.
I have a
because
feeling you won't, because that's a Rocky Patel Edge. Isn't that the anniversary
this
edition?
is the Rocky. Yeah, I actually did a
Wow.
review on this just recently.
Yep,
This
yep.
is the Rocky Patel Edge
I have-
20th anniversary. Look at the wrapper
It's
on
beautiful.
this thing. Isn't
So
it gorgeous?
we talked about this actually in my review of the Rocky Patel cigar I did last week. But Rocky Patel has gone from some of the most not unattractive but basic packaging of their cigars, and they've now become almost one of the more extravagant
Classy.
and beautiful and classy.
Yeah, but they do it in a classy way. It's like
Because the original Edge had no band, and then it had a footer, and then the footer moved up, later on
that
to
was
be
the simplest.
yeah,
that they
very
could get
simple.
away with.
But this one, I'm telling you, this one's beautiful. It's just got a really nicely gold embossed red and silver band, and it's. I see you using the punch there.
Yeah, I've
I
got
like
this
it.
beautiful punch that I got
Yeah, that's good stuff.
for. I believe you gave it to me for Christmas or birthday.
Christmas
I
or
can't remember.
birthday, one of the two.
It was
yeah.
really nice.
And remember, all I want is one cigar this year
That's right.
from you.
Just the Spectre, right?
Yep, that's right. That's all I want is just that one cigar. It's only $1,000. You can swing that, right? We're syndicated now. You should be able to swing that.
Noted. Hey. Now we're in the big leagues.
I'm going to give you the top 10 Aussie beers, according to this website that I found. Because you never know. You could find yourself in Australia and go, what were those beers again?
I'm going to make a guess that that the oil can is not on there.
No, it is not. There is no.
No
what is that brand? What is that brand?
Foster's. Right?
Foster's. Foster's.
Australian for beer.
Australian lager. Black Ops Brewery. That's a really bad Australian accent, wasn't it? Black Ops Brewery at number 10 with their GOAT, which stands, of course, for greatest of all time. The Beechworth Pale Ale from Bridge Road Brewers at number 9. The Original Pale Ale from Cooper's Brewery at number 8. Young Henry's Brewing Newtowner, which I believe is it's an Australian Pale Ale. That's number 7. Better Beer from Better Beer Zero, or Better Beer is the brewery, I'm sorry. Better Beer Zero Carb is the beer at number 6. And then there's Your Mate's Brewing Company, number 5, with Larry.
Your Mate's Brewing Company
with
Larry.
Larry Pale Ale.
Nice.
I like that. Stone and Wood Brewing Company, Pacific Ale at 4. The Bent Spoke Brewing Company, Crankshaft, which looks like it is they call it a cranking IPA. I don't know what a cranking
that
IPA
means.
is, do you? Balter Brewing has the Balter XPA at number 2. And Mountain Culture comes in at number 1 with Status Quo. It is a pale ale. So I didn't look at every beer on this list, Ian, but I just kind of scrolled through a little bit, and I thought, I haven't heard of any of these beers. Yeah.
What do we have here?
There's got to be something in here we've had. And that's why I thought we'd do the whole 100. But maybe in this case, we'll just do that 10.
You know what we haven't had?
What have we not had, sir?
Whiskey today.
Oh, and that's
Well,
about.
I don't know about you, but I haven't had whiskey today.
You know what I like about that, though, is it's so easily correctable.
Now, I did not go through the rigmarole of clearing the top off of this. No, you're going to have to hold on that because I can't even get the...
Not far enough along here, huh? You want me to hold your mic? Here you go.
Hold on. I got the cure.
All right. I'll recite some poetry while you're doing that. The fog moves on cat feet. That's the only line from that poem I know. Sorry, I'm not a very good poetry person.
Here we go. Now.
All right, now. That was so quiet, I didn't hear it. I don't know if anything picked up. John says only a tiny bit. Oh, better. He still says it was very small. But, we don't have the echo of the room. It's
it was big in spirit.
That's right. And hopefully it'll be big in spirit in the glass.
Now, this is the Buffalo Trace. This is the single barrel. Microphone.
Yeah.
This is the Buffalo Trace. This is a single barrel select for Specs downtown. Now, they have a lot of buying power, and I'm sure they buy a huge amount. But I'm super excited about this to see how.
Yeah, because we've had a few of the other bourbons and some rums and things that they've done single barrels on that have been really fantastic. They do a very good job of picking them, in my opinion. But Specs has got it going on. So there's that.
Now, I was very careful not to spill since I hadn't cleared the neck of this.
So just while he's pouring, I just want to point out that Buffalo Trace is probably one of, if not the best tasting, really affordable bourbons that's out there.
They do not raise the price any more than market absolute necessity, and that's a point with them.
Is a bottle of Buffalo Trace still around $28?
Yeah. So you can buy the 1 liter at like $30.
Wow, that's great.
And the handle is like less than 40. And the regular 750 mil is in the 25-ish range.
That's what I thought.
The thing is, it's a little harder to find, and I know like here in Texas, it's not too hard to find. You can find it most places, but I know in a lot of other states you'll have issues with supply.
Yes, and that does happen, but it really happens because they've become so popular. And the price, I think, is part of the popularity because
people caught on.
If you can get something that good for $28 for the 750 milliliter, that's a thing. Now I know this one costs more, and this one is more special, and it's a single cask. You said
it has more citrusy kind of note to it.
Yeah, there's definitely some citrus on the nose. You get that sort of bourbony note that that you would expect from a bourbon, but there's
orange
more citrus
peel,
there.
orange on chocolate following it up. Like the chocolate's kind of a given with the Buffalo Trace, but the orange peel is kind of an interesting part to it.
That's really good.
That's really exciting, isn't it?
That's one of the best bourbons I've had in a while. That's just really tasty.
Yeah.
It just kind of it just kind of coats your palate too.
Yeah,
You know?
it's oily too, and Buffalo Trace always comes in at almost 46%, I think, 45 and some change, 45 and 45%, but yeah, that is absolutely fantastic.
And I will say, with an earthy cigar like this Oliva that I'm smoking, it really blends well. You're pulling all kinds of caramel now out of the Buffalo Trace. You're getting more earthiness out of the cigar than before. It's just a really nice pairing.
I lit up this Rocky Patel Edge 20th anniversary, and it is just outlandish how good this thing is.
So is the 20th anniversary reformulated for the regular Edge? It is, right?
I think it's a different blend, yes. Yeah. And it's got a little more of a creamy note to it. It's got some spice, but there's a little more of the creamier notes. It comes across a little more in the medium range, middle of medium range, rather than the higher end of medium to full some of the edges kind of do.
I'm really enjoying today's show because it's really just kind of like sitting and smoking and sampling things and going, how does that go with that? I mean, it's nice to be able to do that. Obviously, we can't smoke in the studio every week, so it's nice to get out every once in a while.
We need to talk to the boss about that.
Mm-hmm. I hear he's a hard slave driver type.
He's hard to get along with.
Not going to give in at all.
Working for the man.
So that's right.
Hey, the man.
I remember I had a guy that worked for me one time, and I was trying to get him to step up and do more, and he was a good kid, and I was like, all right. I said to him, you're the man. And I just, to this day, I remember him looking at me and going, I am not the man. I do not want to be the man. You are the man.
You are the man.
I was like, okay, great.
These are your decisions,
so
sir.
Much for accepting responsibility there. I appreciate that. No, but it's. I mean, that's really good, Ian. That's really
agreed.
Good.
If
Do you remember the cost of that bottle?
It was
a gift, right?
I don't think it was. It was a gift, but I don't think it was that much more. I think that what they do with the barrel selects is it's not that much more than your standard bottle. However, you're limited in how many you can buy, so that someone doesn't just snap them all up and snap up like 5 cases of it. And,
right.
And they make it unavailable for everybody else.
Sure, I totally get that.
So yeah, that's one of the cool things about it. I was super excited when I got it. I was like, man, we're gonna have a day on the show, and I'm gonna wait for that. It's so good, and there's a whiskey hug that comes up towards the back. That's
wonderful.
So nice.
It's subtle, but it's there.
Absolutely.
It's like a sweet hug as opposed to a bear hug.
Yes.
I like it. I'm going to hand you over another beer. I think we got time to do another one in this segment. We have a lot of IPAs today because the 4 Sixes guys brought us the Grit and Glory hazy IPA earlier, but we're going to try one that may be a little bigger. This is from Anchorage.
Art by Massive Face.
Mm-hmm.
They always have incredible art on there. The beginning of this says, "Are we there yet?" And then you have a character who looks like most of a skeleton in armor.
Yeah, a lot of skeletons
with a battle axe, and but holding on his shoulder, kind of hobo style, and hanging off the end of the battle axe is a bag of skulls.
Right, and are we there yet? He answers, "I have no idea."
I have no idea. That's what it says right there.
Always nice subtext to the beers from Anchorage, and I don't think I've ever seen an Anchorage Brewing Company beer in a small can. I think they're always in the 16-ounce cans. So kind of an interesting brewery. And look, they're in Alaska. They got all winter where they can't do much of anything. Why not brew some beers, I think that's where they're at. I'm going to reach up for this one, Ian, and take a little bit of the nose while you pour that. Oh, wow. Big
Tell me what you're getting. Big
on
citrus.
the nose.
Yeah, it's hazy. It's very pale straw, hazy as all get out.
And this is one of those, although they're not quite as, I'd say like crazy experimental as like an Ingenious Brewing. They brew a lot of different short-term beers. In other words, this one will probably not be available 6 months from now.
So this is brewed with Eldorado Incognito, fermented with THIOL, thol, maybe, boosting yeast, DDH with Strata and Nelson Sauvin hops. Coming in at 6.4%.
Okay, yeah. It must be that Nelson Sauvin that I'm getting that's that.
It's a little funkiness.
A little funky, but it's not overpoweringly funky. It really is kind of working on this blend. They have blended this so very well.
I'm not sure that I like it.
So this is interesting because the last, I don't know, dozen or so IPAs that I brought on the show, you've thought were pretty good.
I think I can drink this, but I don't think that I'd reach for it.
See, I'm totally the opposite end of the spectrum. This is really good to me. Like I'm now thinking, okay, I think my wife got this at HEB. Can we get some more?
We're separate palates on that one.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just not where I want to be.
Does it say what the ABV is on this?
6.4 is what it said
it
on
feels
there.
fairly light. But,
so it's not heavy, but it's not super light. Not. I think 6.4 puts it just above sessionable.
See what this does to the cigar.
Be interested. There's not a lot of other information on here. I love it.
No resistance. No resistance from the cigar at all.
Goes well with.
Yeah, it actually does. And again, I'm always looking for IPAs that'll go well with cigars because many of them don't.
I can't help but think, though, maybe the whiskey plus the cigar is beating it up a little bit. But you're loving it. I don't think it's my cup of tea on that one.
Well, and it was.
And I love Anchorage. Anchorage makes great stuff. So
it was bound to happen that we disagree. But I always expected on an IPA when we disagree, it's going to be because it's one with just massive hop overtones, and I'm still digging it. While you're like, no, that's too much for me.
No, see, like the funk on this is not the funk on this is not in a place where I like the funk.
I think that's the Nelson Sauvin hop.
Yeah, it's in a weird place for me, and it's not not my favorite beer. The can is awesome.
Yep, and I know we've had other Anchorage IPAs that you really like. So,
remember when people used to collect beer cans?
Mm-hmm. It would be a cool thing to do now because there's so many great. So much great artwork.
Oh, you'd be inundated with it. I got a buddy of mine that collects the artwork from the Martin House because they have those great boxes.
They really do.
So, and sometimes he doesn't like the beer. I'll go over to his house. He's like, "Hey, I got a beer in there that you'll probably like."
I had last week, by the way, and I was going to bring it on the show, but I had a different stout to bring on today, so I went ahead and drank this one.
Oh well, I'm glad you did that.
Instead of saving it for the show, but it was a Martin House. Pecan and vanilla Imperial Stout.
Oh.
Or no, I take it back. I'm sorry. It was a porter. Vanilla pecan porter.
I bet that's good.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, Martin House is so fun. Martin House is just outside of Dallas, Fort Worth area. And we stopped by coming down. It was about 5 years ago. We stopped by coming down from visiting some family and friends up in that area. And their brew was pretty basic then, and they've come a long way because they only had a few different beers at that point in time, including one called Oklahoma Sucks.
Yes, I remember that beer.
Right?
Well, they're
and then they had the one.
Dallas,
they had the one that was named for the band. What was that? I'm
for the Toadies.
Yes, for the Toadies.
Yeah. I remember that. Well, I will say one of the things that I think is really cool about Martin House is the way they do their packaging. And when it's time to release a really specialty beer, instead of doing a bomber, they do 2 12-ounce cans in this tall box that can sit next to the bombers on the shelf and put them in that sort of special category in terms of where they get placement on the shelf.
It's the same size packaging as a bomber would be. Like sometimes you get a bomber in a box.
Yep, it's the same size packaging.
You know, like if you buy the Velvet Merkin or one of those, it'll be in that nice pretty box. It's the same kind of box, but you get 2 cans, which I think is a couple ounces more than a bomber.
Yeah, I think it is actually. But I like it because you can break it up. With the bomber, once you open it, you kind of need to finish.
You're committed.
These you can do one at a time.
You're committed.
All right, Ian, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it is drinking news time, which is always a highly anticipated time on this program. Sometimes a little too highly anticipated, if you understand what I'm saying. But, hey, people like it, so we keep doing it. We'll probably be taking a trip to Florida, will be my guess, in this next drinking news. So that's coming up. Plus, we still have more tasting to do. We have something that I'm actually really excited about, and I get the feeling you may have tasted it before. I have not. It is Jester King Brewery out of Austin. It is their black metal Imperial Stout. So really psyched about this.
The cover art on that is
cover art's
too,
wonderful in a completely different way. But we'll get to that in our next segment, as well as drinking news. You're watching Smokin' and Toastin' on location at the wonderful, and it's very chill out there, by the way, Shady Acres Saloon. We'll be right back.
In the beginning story goes. A smooth operation.
Welcome back, my friends. It is show number 318 of a little thing we do called Smoking and Toasting. Our program's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we are on location today, which is a lot of fun because we get to smoke when we're on location, if we're outside, of course. We're at the Shady Acres Saloon in Houston Heights, Houston, Texas, and they have been very accommodating to us. We want to say a big thanks to the staff and ownership here at Shady Acres. This has been a fun place to be for the show today.
You know, this whole area right here has turned into just like, this is the place to be on a Friday or Saturday
totally
night.
Is. You can find a place to park and you kind of walk up and down the streets.
Yeah,
a lot of different places
tons of bars, tons of different places to go. This is my favorite down in this area. It's just got such a nice ambiance. Usually a great band playing out here.
Yeah, it's very chill.
A good place
chill.
to smoke a cigar, too.
Yeah, and we're doing plenty of that today. We're not only smoking cigars, we're drinking beers, we're drinking whiskey, and we're bringing you drinking news.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said, I
had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
Yeah.
All right, drinking news on location. Ladies and gentlemen, you know from previous discussions we've had on this program that honestly you really can't smoke in California. I mean, it's very, very difficult. But you know what you can do? Apparently,
in California, you can get cancer.
Yeah.
Everything causes cancer in California.
That's
You
right.
notice
And apparently, you can steal.
Oh.
So I will explain. Because that may be what motivated a Florida man to do pretty much whatever he wanted in that great social gathering spot that we all know as Walmart. It seems that James John Perez visited the town hall, the Walmart in Sebastian, Florida.
That was a little slip there, right?
And he decided, sorry about that. So Perez decided that not only was he thirsty, but he also needed some pants and maybe some socks.
Was he wearing some when he got in?
Yeah, we all know that shopping at Walmart can be stressful. In between the crowds and the kids running wild.
There are
and
whole YouTube channels dedicated to like things you see in Walmart.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a high blood pressure environment, to be sure. So what did James John Perez do? Well, he decided to take the edge off. A Walmart employee working the sales floor happened to notice Perez grab a bottle of McCormick's vodka from the shelf and a six-pack for the road of Smirnoff Ice.
Here in Texas, you can't get the liquor in Walmart.
Yeah, but this is Florida.
Yeah, Florida's different, yeah.
Florida, yeah. So he grabs a bottle of McCormick's vodka, six-pack of Smirnoff Ice for the road, but the Florida man didn't wait for the road to start enjoying his selections. He popped them open, started drinking them while he shopped.
Hey, you know we've all grabbed a Mountain Dew out of the cooler and just paid for it at the end of our shopping.
Yeah, but you didn't just drink it and then put the empty back on the shelf, which is what he did with his Smirnoff Ice. So I guess that was nice of him.
This one's broken. I'm not paying for it.
Nobody wants empty cans of Smirnoff Ice rolling around on the floor. In fact, no one wants to even drink the stuff, if that's possible.
Right, well, Smirnoff Ice.
But that's not important right now. The store employee watched as Perez drank from the vodka bottle and from more of the cans, and then proceeded to do a little more shopping. He walked around the men's department and pocketed a couple pair of socks after removing the packaging, and then put on a pair of pants, then removed the sales tags and tossed the sales tags on the floor. When police arrived,
of course.
And by the way, anytime your story includes the phrase, when the police arrived, you know it's not going well.
Right.
When the police arrived,
something's going wrong immediately.
They found the Florida man, 3 pairs of socks, the stolen pants, scissors, a pocket knife, and a half-empty bottle of McCormick vodka on his person. He'd used those scissors to cut off the tags.
I was going to say, you have to have the scissors to cut off the
pants
tags.
and socks. Grand total of his shoplifted merchandise was $61.91. I feel like Bob Barker announcing the actual retail price is. But general policy of most retailers is not to actually confront shoplifters directly, but to call law enforcement and let law enforcement handle it. Perez seemed a little surprised at being taken away to be booked. Apparently,
why are you booking me?
Apparently, he'd moved to Florida from California, where state law holds that stealing merchandise costing $950 or less is just a misdemeanor, making law enforcement less likely to even investigate and prosecutors more likely to just let it go.
Oh, my goodness.
But all state laws are different, and now that he was a Florida man, James John Perez was headed to jail. So the lesson here seems clear. If you shoplift in Florida, you very well may wind up doing time. And if you're going to take that risk, then for God's sake, steal something better than Smirnoff Ice.
Yeah, well, the other thing too is if you're gonna shoplift, well, obviously move to California if you're gonna shoplift, but
Right.
don't smoke, because then you're gonna actually end up with the jail time.
Right. That's
Right.
when
That's how it works.
That's the point of the whole thing, right? Reporting live from the beer aisle in Walmart. Let's see, Bud Light, Michelob Ultra, Natty Ice. You know what? There's nothing here worth going to jail for. My name is Cruz, and that is your
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. So I got to admit, drinking news is becoming the hardest segment of the show for me to prepare for, because it almost feels like all the really funny stories have all been used up. There's lots of Florida man stuff in the news every week, tons of it. But, nothing's really funny about a Florida man robbed a convenience store, unless he did something funny while he was...
Right, there's
and
incredulous.
we try to keep these shows humorous.
There's incredulous stories, but certainly not always funny.
Yeah, so, wow. I just went back for a drink of the strawberry mochi, which you had poured more of that. That was our first of the beers that I brought that we tried. It's really good once it's warmed up a little, too. It's almost...
Oh, agreed.
It's almost more milkshake-ish or something.
That's a good beer.
Yeah, that really is. We've had several good ones today. I know you weren't crazy about the IPA, but I dug it. So, speaking of beer, we got another one to try, my friend. And this one is one I understand you have had before. I have not, so I'm excited about it.
I have, and since this mic stand magically appeared in front of me.
Yeah, it makes it easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. You got to just look here when Adam puts the picture here. The picture of this on this can is fantastic.
I just want to remind, as Ian's opening that up. Oh, nice. As Ian's opening that up, I just want to remind you, those of you who regularly enjoy the show on video, on YouTube or on one of the other social media platforms, it will still be available every week. It's just going to come out a few days later in the week. We're going to be released on Saturday afternoon after the broadcast version of the show has aired. So even if the show's not in your market, in your city, broadcast-wise, and no matter where you are around the world, you'll still be able to access Smokin' and Toastin' via the podcast download or via YouTube or any of the other social media spots where you can find it.
It'll just be put back by a couple days.
Yep, that's right. And when you visit those, by the way, you can also go back and listen. If you go to our SoundCloud page, you can listen to any episode that you want. It's just soundcloud.com/Smokin' and Toastin'. So
you can listen to all the silly things I say.
Yeah. All right, Ian, this is an Imperial Stout as we continue the spirit of Imperial February all into March. And this is from Jester King. Now, Jester
Now
King.
it's Imperial March.
That's right.
I can't wait until Imperial April. Or we're going to have Porter April.
Doesn't Imperial March, though, sound like a music selection from
Imperial
Star
March.
Wars? All right, so it looks like maybe like a Kiss cosplay dude on the front there.
Almost like the guy from Metalocalypse.
Okay,
you know?
there you go. That's working. And the beer itself?
Beer itself, well, I've had this before, and Jester King, as far as I can tell, can do no wrong. But
These guys have really been picking up a lot of beer industry cred lately, Jester King out of Austin.
When someone talks about a stout being as black as oil, that's pretty much this.
So
it sticks to the glass.
This is not one of those sweet stouts.
No.
Because, sometimes stouts, they'll have, a lot of vanilla notes, and they'll be just a little bit sweet. This is not that at all. This is darker, more coffee-based.
This is actually closer to Guinness in flavor. Without that creamy thing that Guinness has.
Right. It doesn't have the Guinness creamy vibe.
And it has a very coffee, like a lot of stouts in their natural state have a very coffee kind of aftertaste to it. And this definitely has that and that bitterness to it. This is an outstanding beer right here. It also tips in at 9.3%.
Oh, wow. There you go. I just want to say, it doesn't strike me as a fancy stout. Like a lot of stouts are fancy in the sense that they have a whole lot of different flavors going on. This one just seems to kind of say, this is who we are. Love us.
No, this is unapologetically stout. It's just that's all there is to it. And this is kind of a throwback, I think, to a classic stout beer. It doesn't have to have. And don't get me wrong, I love the bourbon barrel aging and all the other stuff that happens, but this is just your basic awesome stout.
If you've ever wondered what Guinness might taste like if it was a little more boozy, that's what this beer reminds me of.
Because Guinness is not very boozy at all.
No, it's not. It's actually
like
very light.
4.5%.
Yeah, it's actually very light.
It's lighter than a lot of beers that you drink.
Oh, I don't want to drink Guinness. I'll get too wasted after just one beer or two. And it's actually much lighter than you might think.
That's right.
It's proof, by the way, that you can have a lighter beer and not have it taste like water.
That's it's pretty amazing, right?
And now I think we may be in trouble with the regulators.
Just think this thought in mind. Your average Budweiser or Bud Light comes in just a couple percentages around that. Same thing as a Guinness. This, of course, is coming in at over double.
Right.
Or right at double that, a little over double that, if my math is correct.
And I will mention this too, Ian. I've talked about the other beers that we've had today, not necessarily fighting with my cigar. This one didn't even think about fighting. They signed a peace treaty at the beginning, and now they're forming like Voltron.
Yeah, they're hanging out together and having a good time.
Absolutely, this is just working really, really well with the cigar. Now, how's it working with the Edge?
So the Edge is a little bit bigger cigar in general. So I'm glad I waited till the end to have this one because this one's going with the black metal incredibly well. This is like where you want to pair a cigar and a beer.
If you are a beer lover, but you want to pair with cigars, I recommend kind of opening with the stouts and the porters. They will almost always line up pretty well with what you're doing. That pecan porter that I mentioned, it was a pecan and vanilla porter from Martin House. That went so well with the Bella Artes Maduro from AJ Fernandez that I smoked that day. When I was drinking the beer, it was just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, hoppy beers are touch and go with cigars, man. So I think that hop bitter we talked about earlier in the show, that hop bitter can really interrupt a cigar, I think. But anything on the stout side is going to go well. Kind of depends on how bitter you like. If you like it a little sweeter, a porter is going to be kind of your place, or a wee heavy. Wee heavy is also known as a Scotch ale, and those are beautiful, beautiful things to go with a cigar.
Just wanted to mention another beer that I had this week that I'll have to get some more of and bring on the show. Our friends at the brewery out in Magnolia, Texas, Lone Pint Brewery.
Lone Pint, yeah.
They have a Berliner Weisse that is fantastic that I just had for the first time this week. And I'm blanking on the actual name of it, but it is out. I got it at Specs.
Oh, nice. I'll have to look for that.
So I'll bring one on the show soon. But I'm telling you, I've had some really good beers this week, and I sometimes when that happens, I go, I should mention this on the show, but of course we're always drinking our own beers on the show, so it's
I loved when we had Blake on the show. And when he was on the show, he brought a guitar for me to fix up for him.
That's right. I remember that.
It was his very first guitar, and it was like a green crackle finish. It was so metal and awesome. And I did outrageous things to it and made it into an amazing playing guitar.
Yeah, and it looks great.
And it
looks
him,
like total 80s great.
Yeah, 100%. And I warned him when I gave it back. I said, now you're going to call me and say you're going to have to drop off your other guitars because you want them to play like that. I got that text. So I'll be talking to Blake pretty soon. I'm going to see.
Good. Let's talk about some more beers.
Yeah. Man.
Lone Pint, man, they're doing great things. They're doing God's work as far as
they're
I'm
crushing it.
concerned.
My band will be playing out there in another month or so too.
Good. That's a great place to be and to hang while you're doing it. A lot of the breweries have bands. Even here, Shady Acres is not a brewery, but they'll have a band outside on their stage tonight. I think Ryan Lawless is playing after we leave here.
They got great music out here.
But yeah, it's very, very cool. Just wanted to mention, I've been smoking this Oliva Monticello from Holtz. Bought this online from Holtz, This cigar has smoked so great. It has finally gone out when I had it sat down while I was doing Drinking News. And that's the first time it's gone out. So I'm going to relight it here while you carry on for a moment.
I'm going to talk about this lighter I have here, and I'm going to let you borrow this.
Okay.
Because this lighter is a DuPont lighter. And I had, when we were at the Whiskey Social this past year, I had a conversation because I was using that lighter to light a cigar. And I don't bring it everywhere because that's an expensive lighter. That was a gift. My wife bought that for me. And it's way outside of my status quo. But this lighter is about...
outside of your normal price range.
It's like $260-ish, I think, for this lighter. But I had a conversation with Young from Hooten and Young. And he saw that I had this, and he goes, I can't believe people pay that much for a lighter. And I said, you know what? This lighter is amazing in that every time you click it, it lights. And I bring this out when I'm going to smoke during the day because you can't always see the flame, and you can't tell if your lighter has lit. This one, every single time, no matter what, lights. So that's why I bring it out.
I love it.
And when I'm dressed up or during the day,
right.
I know it's going to be lit no matter what.
Very consistent. I love it. And it lit me back up, by the way, and this is more about the cigar than the lighter. But I'm not currently experiencing a relight penalty on this Oliva.
So that Oliva has lasted 1.5 cigars that I brought.
Yep, absolutely. It's it's really hung in there well. And again, this is a house brand for Holtz that Oliva does. So the only place you can buy this one is online with Holtz. And I'm going to tell you, it's worth buying. Especially at the price that I got it at. I think these wound up being around $5 a cigar at the price that I bought it at. So that's not normal price, but it was on sale.
The black metal is pulling out a lot of more of the woody notes in this cigar. I'm getting a lot of cedar and things like that going on. It's really, really a nice change to what I had going on earlier where I was getting some of the sweeter things. But this is bringing out like cedar and kind of the woodier notes and the earthier notes in the cigar, which is really nice. And
believe it or not, by the way, I just went back to the Buffalo Trace, and after having the black metal, the Buffalo Trace is a little sweeter.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Left in your,
I've got a little bit left right here.
Yeah, because I guess because of the more, sort of coffee notes in the black metal, it makes this by contrast seem sweeter now.
Oh, it does.
And it's
that
delicious.
Orange peel though on that cask, that single cask select, but single barrel select is just unbelievable.
All right, we're going to take a break here. We're going to be back to wrap up the show. But what a show it's been! I am far more chill than I usually am during the show. I think it just has to do with the environment here at Shady.
The relaxed atmosphere.
We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting.
I know how to love, and I know who I am. Come on, let me love you a little.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars, and we're on location at the Shady Acres Saloon in Houston Heights. Ian, this has been a great place to do a show. I haven't felt this relaxed on a show in a long time.
That's nice,
It's
isn't
very
it?
chill, We're just hanging out, drinking good beers, drinking great bourbon that Ian brought today. This is working really well for me at least. I've enjoyed this. So, and I'm still working on this cigar. And right down to the end, it is wonderful.
Man, I'm on my second one. This Rocky Patel Edge 20th anniversary is fantastic.
It's working for you.
My last cigar tasted good till it kind of fell apart.
And by the way, for those who took the over-under on whether Ian would make it through the entire show without the chair he's sitting in falling apart, because I'm pretty sure this chair was just for decoration, Ian.
No, this chair has features. It has what I like to call an adjustable armrest.
Yeah. See, I don't have any of those features on mine.
And it has collapsible slats.
If you pull that thing down, I think it goes to 44,000 gigawatts and takes you into the future.
It does something.
Something like that. Well, listen, this has been great fun. I've enjoyed this episode a lot. And we're very close to launching our syndication, which is awesome. That's going to be coming up soon.
I'm super excited about that.
And then on next week's show, and this we had this scheduled earlier, and it got pushed back a little due to some other circumstances, but Abby Heim is going to be joining us. Abby is with Pink Boots, which I don't know a lot about, but she'll explain it when she's on. It has something to do with supporting women in craft beer.
That's awesome.
And that's a very cool thing. And Abby is awesome. You're going to love her. And she's bringing on some beers, I believe, from Great Heights Brewing.
Right, because
she's involved with them, yes. So I don't know the full story, but she'll explain it all to us next week here on the program, and we will be looking forward to it. So we'll be back in the studio next week, so we won't be able to smoke, but this has been a very enjoyable diversion. I've always loved just hanging out with you and drinking and smoking cigars. But
that's what started this.
That's what started the whole thing, yeah. As we get ready to be, as ZZ Top said, bad and nationwide, we are very excited about it. And we want to thank those of you who have been hanging with us for 318 or 317 plus the mystery episode versions of this whole thing.
Even if you've only heard the last 5, I'm cool with that too.
I was thinking about this week. I was talking to my wife about this. By the time we get to the 333rd show, which will be our anniversary celebration, think about that. If you only count 3 beers a week, because we always do at least 3, that'll be 999 beers that we have sampled on this show. Are you serious with me? 999 beers on the wall, 999 bottles of beer.
So I don't know why in the back of my head I just have that. You remember that old Twisted Sister video where the guy's like, "What are you gonna do with your life?" This is it, buddy. This is what I'm doing.
999 beers.
So now, like, we're gonna have to start singing 999 beers on the wall.
Yes, for sure. It's gonna,
and it'll take a lot of episodes to get through that.
I wonder how that'll sound with the ukulele. Thank you guys for coming here and being a part of
a good time.
Yeah, being part of the show. We appreciate you the most. We love doing this, and today's show's been one of the most enjoyable ever. Thank you to all of the staff and ownership here at Shady Acres that allowed us to come in and do the show here. This has been a blast, and now we get to just hang out here and drink, which is pretty exciting too. We will see you next week with Abby Heim from Pink Boots. Everybody, please have a great week, and whatever you do, drink responsibly, and trust no one. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all. Black metal.